All right, 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, October 2nd, 2023 City Council meeting, City of Credit River. We will begin with approving or amending the agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that anybody would like to change tonight? If not, I would take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. We got a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine or non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from the consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have the council meeting minutes from September 18th, 2023. We have a claim approval and transfer of funds. We have animal control services, approving grading agreement with Northern Natural Gas. Resolution 2023-27, ordering the preparation of a report on improvements for the 2024 overlay projects. Resolution 2023-25, approving a preliminary and final plat for the development known as the Skuslacek Second Edition. And Resolution 2023-26, approving a developer's agreement for the development known as a school. Excuse me. If I'm gonna have to say that 3 times in a row, sorry. Skuslacek Second Edition. Is there anything from the consent agenda anybody would like to remove and consider separately?
I'd like 3.6, 3.7 removed.
All right, so we'll move that to 7.4 and 7.5. All right. If there's no other changes to the consent agenda, I would take a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Jay.
Seconded.
Thank you, Leroy. So I've got a motion and a second to approve consent agenda with the 2 changes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss, but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. If you'd like anybody like to speak in public forum tonight, I'll ask you to step to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close open forum and move on to general business. General business number 1, approve the 2024 to 2028 street and utility capital improvement plan. Engineer Nelson, would you please introduce the topic?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We had previously discussed and reviewed the 2024 to 2028 capital improvement plan as part of the budget process. So this is not the first time that the City Council has seen this. It is kind of our web version or our web format that we generally utilize after a CIP plan is approved, such that it can be posted on the website. So there's really no changes from the previous version that the council has seen. At this point, I guess, generally the capital improvement plan is approved each year by the City Council for the preceding 5 years. And so, this time next year, again, we'll be reviewing the capital improvement plan for the next 5-year planning period. And kind of one thing that we always say is capital improvement plans are the most certain for the next year. So if it's 2023, it's the most certain for the year 2024. And as you get out to that 5th year, they become a little bit less certain. So sometimes projects can change based on community needs or based on amount of funding that's needed for a project. But with that, I'll stop my speaking and stand for questions if there are any.
All right. Thank you, Shane. Council members, any questions on the 2024-28 CIP?
No, no.
Yeah, it's just a few.
Okay.
As far as bonding is concerned, I know that this year's a bonding year, correct? So what's the process been for bonding for 3 years out? You know, I see a little bit of fluctuation, especially in third year where it's, you know, 500,000 versus the 1.7 million this year. Is there some advantage, disadvantage to try to even that out a little bit more? Is it historically been more geographically or location specific? What, just trying to get a little bit better understanding of that.
What is your question more surrounding why is it the 3-year bonding process or?
Sorry, to flatten it out for bonding purpose for,
Mhm.
right, so if we can take a bond, this year's bonding, then you've got another 2 years, 3 years. for
3 years,
bonding.
yep.
So we would take potentially a bond out for this year and start taking out of our capital fund for the next 2 years.
Mhm.
Is there any advantage on pushing some of these back and being able to have a less bond so that it's a little bit more flat? Or is it based on geographically where the needs are and the history on the road improvements and whatnot?
Well, I think, you know, and Sarah, you can probably help us because you were here at the time when we started some of this stuff and Shane, you can jump in too. But I think the original thought process through how that was originally laid out is because it made the most sense financially to do the bonding, you know, in that 3-year increment so that we could keep the debt service at a level that was affordable in between. And then, you know, also flatten out the levy piece instead of having the capital levy piece going like this all the time. That would allow the capital piece to be a little bit more level across the time.
So having 2026 low like that's gonna level that out is what you're saying?
The capital
The
part of
capital.
the levy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any, you know, in looking through there, I don't know all the roads.
Mhm.
Are there certain roads that, I know Casey's one, or Country Court is always in need of it. And we're pushing them out until water and sewer come in. I know we did a little bit of work on them
Mhm.
this year, last year.
We do a little every year.
Is there any other roads that are in dire need like them that we need to be thinking about pushing them up in front instead of waiting?
Shane, if you want to talk about like the schedule of roads and how we've gone about the maintenance plan.
Yeah, sure. So in general, all of our roads are more or less on a 20-year replacement schedule without maintenance, and we try to extend that to at least 30 years with some scheduled maintenance and improvements. To answer Councilmember Zonto's question directly, I think, you know, there is one road that I can think of, Longview Lane, that was scheduled a couple of years ago that we identified was in need of a reclaim and pave. We had a public improvement hearing for that road, and the residents were mostly opposed of the project, and that project did not move forward. So that's why it is now scheduled for the year 2027, I believe. And we do have a couple other roads too. Hampshire Avenue up on the north end of the city is in, you know, that road is probably close to 30 years old. We did what's called a temporary overlay on that road about 3 years ago, just to kind of hold it together. But that's a similar situation as Country Court in that we don't want to go in and reconstruct the roads when we know that sewer and water in that general area is likely to happen within the next, 5 or 10 years. We also have the Casey additions, and those roads are over 20 years old, and they're in need of improvements, but I would say that they are, that project's going to be even more expensive than the Country Court project. And I think our plan in the past has been to try to, do patching and do minimal improvements to keep those roads open, recognizing that a full reconstruction on those roads is probably at least 10 years out. So,
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on the CIP? No. Otherwise, if we're good with what it is, then I would take a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leroy. Thank you, Jay. Motion is second to approve the 2024 through 2028 street and utility capital improvement plan. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. General business item number 2, Dominion vote quote tabulator and accessories. Administrator Reynolds, are you gonna catch us up on this one?
Thank you, Mayor. Council, sorry I'm not present this evening. I am at the ICMA conference. And so I will also apologize for any background noise right at the moment because the conference and various events are still ongoing and I'm kind of in the midst of all of it right at the moment. The Dominion voting tabulator machine, the last time we had this on the agenda, the council had decided to table the item to allow Councilor Zanto the chance to talk to the election administrators with the county and to get some more information on that. So this is placed back on the agenda in order to find out the results of Councilor Zanto's inquiries there. And then we can move on from there on how we address this item.
Okay, Councilmember Zanto.
Yeah. So I did have an opportunity to meet with Julie Hansen at Scott County last week. Very informative. Had quite a few questions for her. Some of the biggest questions that I still have is they house our tabulator there, but the big box, where does that reside? The outer box for the tabulator, is that here? Because I thought that was the restriction we had, that we couldn't house it, we didn't have space here.
Yeah, the big box is here.
The boxes here, the items that take the most restrictions are located with the county.
So what I heard, and maybe it was incorrect, was that we didn't have the space for it. Is it more that we don't have the security for it, or we don't have the space for it? Cool.
I think it's a little bit of both. We have the box located here with us in Credit River along with some of the other materials, the tabulator and the items there that take some additional security, and Scott County is providing that with their storage of it. We also have limited space. Our facility here is limited in what we have the capacity to hold and to maintain.
Okay. From a security perspective, I was pleased to hear a lot of the security that they do have. Some of the seals they have on there to ensure that the cards that are put in there are intact. The cast voter record, or the cast vote record, now that we're upgraded to the latest version, is available. I think as a city we need to get those, and I think we should be reviewing those to ensure that that is legitimate. And the one thing that I was very concerned about still is ballot images are not accessible for us. So we have no way to actually prove anything after the election's done. So the cast voter record is basically a summarization by race of what happened, or by ballot. But there's no way to look at a ballot image and look at the cast vote record to verify that everything's kosher. I know that's a Minnesota statute that we're up against. We don't have any kind of access to do anything different, but I have very strong concerns still based on that. There's no way for us to validate it's working.
But the physical ballot though is with the counter in the box.
Correct, but that
Right.
is only looked at in the case where it's asked for a recount.
Right.
There's no way for any citizen to be able to say, we'd like to see someone validated that this was done correctly. Right now, actually, even before the last software update, they didn't even have a cast voter record. So trust us, it's all good, was kind of the answer.
Sure.
So the cast voter record's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
But the ballot images being private is still a big gap in my opinion. I also am aware that the Minnesota statute says that since we've done a vote for the precinct, we have to get a tabulator. So our hands are pretty well tied there. As much as I disagree with that still to this point. The other thing I think that is noteworthy is there is a public accuracy testing. So anyone that's in the public can go and watch the test beforehand, which is great. I asked how many people show up. She said about one.
That's half as much as what I thought.
So
I was gonna guess two.
I think that's just something to point out that, for those that are interested and concerned about the elections, need to go and participate in the process and understand it. Also very interesting to hear that they've got about 60 machines at Scott County that they have under lock and key. 5 people in the Scott County have access to that room, not even Scott County commissioners.
Yeah.
So, all said and done, I think they're doing as well as they possibly can to make it a secure. Are there still concerns I have? Yes. Do we have much of a choice? I don't think so. I would still probably say I'm a no, just for the simple fact that why can't we have ballot images? I know this isn't the place for us to figure that out. We can't do that. But in my opinion, that's still, if at my job, if I'm to prove that I'm doing my job well, I have to have proof that the data is accurate. And I don't think we still have that. So that's what I had.
Okay. Well, I guess, my thought process here tonight, since we only have 4 of the members of the council tonight, I think we're probably best off tabling this again, would be my recommendation until we have a full council. We can all weigh in on how to move forward. There's not a lot of choices moving forward. I mean, ultimately the choice is, do we spend $50,000 one time to buy all new machines, and then ongoing costs of programming, securing, and taking on the liability of that? That's the only other option we have.
Are there other options? I mean, that's.
But again, if we break away from the county, right? So right now the county supports
Understood.
programming, security, and all those pieces
That's not my
and
question.
liability.
The question is, are there other options of other manufacturers?
I think there's other options, but it's just a matter of whether or not.
Fill that.
There's not, Scott County has
Well, I understand
a
that,
contract with
but
them.
excluding Scott County,
Mhm.
excluding Scott County, are there other manufacturers that we could use?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's 4 or 5.
That would fill those.
But
The-
again,
the
something
one
that's covered by
thing-
state statute, though.
The one thing that I think actually Dominion's good at is they are completely offline until you put a little dongle, a little modem on there to actually give the preliminary results. So there are others that actually have internet access that makes me more concerned.
Yeah,
So
that would be even more of a risk. So I guess, options then tonight is, table it again. If
I
you
would
guys,
suggest you table it, because I think probably the way the vote's gonna go is gonna be a tie.
okay, is that a motion that you're making to table it?
Yes.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Abe. We have a motion and a second to table the Dominion vote quote tabulator accessories until the next meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Third item, recruitment and hiring of a planner, Administrator Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. With our 2024 budget process, we've been discussing the staffing and looking at what we need for staffing moving forward. One of those positions was a planner. We did look at 3 different options when we looked at the planner. One was hiring a permit technician. The other one was hiring a planner, kind of an introductory level position. And the last one was hiring a senior level planner and a permit technician. Kind of with 2024 budget processing and analysis and our workshops, we decided that the planner is the most cost-effective position for us moving forward, to kind of help us move forward in the way we're working and to provide better service to the community and to the work that's being done currently. As some background, we've received, as of the time we wrote the agenda packet, 445 permit applications. 390 of them had been issued to date. And looking at permit fees that we received from those applications of $547,902. This planner position would be touching each and every one of those positions in one of those applications and really doing the administrative processing of all of them. Right now, that work is done by our city clerk in kind of the secondary position that she fills part-time, is kind of doing permit reviews of our minor permits. And then our city planner in our contract position is doing these administrative reviews of our major permits. This position would take the work being done by both of those individuals and combine it into one individual working in a full-time capacity. In addition, it would take the work that our city engineer is doing by coming to the city offices on our Tuesday morning office hours. They're really there and answering permit related questions. I mean, they're there for engineering purposes, but 99.9% of the work that they are doing is answering permitting related questions, which is not inside the scope of really their responsibility. But because they're the only ones in the city hall that really they touch the permits for the engineering purposes, they find themselves as being the ones that answer it. Either that or myself or Dominique, as our finance director, are looking up the answers to answer these questions. So really to provide better customer service to our community, to more efficiently and effectively handle these positions and the work that's being done. We're really looking at that planner position does a much more effective way of doing this for our community. And so with our 2024 budget, we agreed to looking at that and putting that planner position into the budget. Tonight, what we're doing is asking to move forward with the recruitment and hiring of that position, starting it now, with the eventuality that it may be January before they can start. But even if they could start, say, in December or November, the analysis that we did with this previously, we looked at it and we said we could support this position starting as early as right now, within the budget that we have for 2023. So we are asking to move forward with recruitment and hiring of this position. If we can get them hired before the end of the year, that's great. While we are a little bit slower, because there is a natural progression of permits. They do slow down a little bit over the winter months. That would give us a chance to train them, get them up to speed and get them started. So as spring comes around, we are full-fledged ready to go with this individual. And like I said, they will take on all the major and the minor permit reviews, plus they will take on some of this lower level development planning that right now is being done by our planner. That could be handled by somebody in-house, and leave our city planner to do the higher level, larger scale development work. And I'm available to answer any questions you may have on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Council members, any questions, comments on that?
Yes.
Councilmember Zanto.
Kathy, thank you for the details there. One thing that I just was looking to get a little more clarification on, it looks like about $547,000 for fees in 2022 that were collected. I know that Dominique out, we don't maybe have the exact dollar amount, but is there any idea how much we're actually paying for the work done? Or I don't know what you call it, going out to the site and reviewing and making sure that the permit is completed? Because we have dollars for the work done on the front side, but I don't think we have dollars on the back side. I just want to make sure that at the end of the
The
day,
inspection piece?
inspection, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. It's a long day.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
So-
have? Yeah, go ahead.
Counselor Zanto, yes, we do have that information. I mean, I don't have it with me here, unfortunately. I believe our building official, our contract with them is 42% of the building fees, and that's not all of our permit fees are not just building, building fees. There are some additional pieces that add into that. But they get 42%. And when we did our analysis of our costs, not only for looking at 2024, but also looking at 2023, those fees were incorporated into the analysis. So we've looked at all of those additional fees. In addition, we have Scott Soil and Water that do our erosion control inspections. That work is mainly done under escrow, and we've done the analysis looking at all of that and feel very comfortable with where we're at with hiring the individual and with the work. As you can see, just looking at the August costs for our city planner, once again, it was around a $6,000+ invoice, and we could probably take down what we're paying her for the month of August to about $1,400, $1,500 with the work that we could potentially pull off to an in-house planner. And that doesn't include the work from our city clerk who's doing this work part-time, or the city engineer, or the effectiveness of not using my time or Dominique's time to do this work as well.
Okay, thank you. So when I look at the year to date, looks like total revenues is about 414,000. Projected expense, if we got the planner, was 140. So is it safe to say that 42% of the 414, roughly 200,000? So 200 plus the 140 for the projected expenses would still be a net gain, and this position truly costs nothing from the general budget. Is that a correct statement?
I would say yes, it's pretty correct. We look at this, we've analyzed it, and based off the permit fees to date, we look at it and we say that this position will not cost the taxpayers any money. It will be fully funded by the permit fees and the permit revenues that we are receiving. The delta in there, the numbers that you're saying don't include, there are some engineering fees in there, but that has been a complete analysis that's been done. And we do see this as a net zero for the tax levy. It is fully funded by the permit fees.
Okay, thank you. The other question I had was that a lot of the walk-ups are permit related, and with having a planner here, obviously that planner could take those walk-ups. I'm getting off topic just a hair, but due to the fact that our clerk is not on site now, do those non-permit related questions, are we taking the permit, the planner then out of his or her role to be able to take on some of those additional questions that aren't permit related? Or what's our plan to handle those other questions?
The planner, this position would be mainly housed in-house to be available to the public. They would have some remote options. So they would take on all of those permit related questions that are right now being handled by the rest of us that are there, and be able to address those. The non-permit related questions could still remain with going to myself for handling, or in other directions. I can say that 99% of what walks in the door on a daily basis, not just during office hours, is permit related items, either that or they are code enforcement. And I do envision this person being able to assist with code enforcement as well.
Okay, thank you.
So basically stepping up customer service opportunities without increasing levy.
Yeah, and I think it's really essential that that person's on site. You know, I
As much as
think
possible.
a lot of those office hours, people wait until those office hours and they get bombarded. So if we have a little bit more office hours
Spread it
throughout
out.
the week, that could help
Mhm.
alleviate that rush.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I guess just timing. And part of this is the, whether we do it in 2023 or 2024. Get started now, or we wait. Thoughts on that?
Well, I think number one thing I would say to that, Jay, is that approving the position tonight, when we get to the posting, post and all that, recruiting time right now,
Probably takes it into.
I bet you, we probably don't get anybody started in 23 yet. That would be my guess. Again, just
Yeah.
looking at where, I probably have right now at my daytime job, 10 positions open in 6 different states, and we're on the downline of applications being received right now. Like, we just missed the peak. The peak happened a month or so ago. We were getting all kinds of applications. Last week it dried up. So don't know, I see that trend kind of going like that all year round, and I think if we start, at least get it posted now and start that process in hopes that we can have somebody here by January would be, I think, a good goal to have.
I think you want to start it.
It'd be nice, right?
January-ish. Versus a lot of spring applications. So you don't want to, time somebody to start at the same time that.
Right.
The influx is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to learn a little bit before that process starts to happen.
Okay.
Then to that point, let me ask this question, Kathy, in your thought process, what is your thought process for recruiting? How are we going to advertise? Is there any needs for any recruiting expense towards this?
No, I don't see any recruiting expense. This isn't one that you hire anybody to help you find. We'll use the league's website, which, since we're a member of it, that's free. And there's some various other websites, whether it's going through the colleges and their college boards, which this is a great introductory level position for somebody coming from college. So we'll use the college boards, we'll use the league site, and some other, the planning sites to post the position out there. So there's no cost associated with this other than just our time in putting it out there on the various sites and then doing the reviews and the interviews of the individuals.
Okay. I just thought it was a good next step to what your question was there, Jay. So any of it's really,
Whether or not they're.
great. And if nobody has any other questions that, no, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. So I've got a motion and a second to approve recruiting and hiring of a planner position. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right. So let's go back up to item 3.6, resolution 2023-25, preliminary plat and final plat. Also, we'll probably combine in 3.7 there from the developers agreement for Slash-Check second edition. Kathy, do you have you ready to talk about this one and introduce it to the council?
I can talk to this at a very basic level. This has been reviewed by our city planner. It was taken to the planning commission at their last meeting in September. They had the public hearing in regards to this, and the planning commission did recommend approval of it. The resolution 23-25 is the approval of the final plat. 23-26 is the approval of the development agreement. We do know that there are a few items still to be put into place with the final reviews, but this is allowing us to get the approvals in place in order to move forward once we have some final details with some costs and everything else that we can put the numbers into the development agreement. I know Shane has been involved with this one as well. So between the two of us, hopefully we can answer the questions. I didn't hear any questions in advance and Cindy was not available tonight. So between the two of us, we can field any questions or concerns you may have, hopefully.
Okay. Leroy.
I just pulled it off because everybody says we're going too fast, so let's slow down and take a look at what we're gonna approve. I don't know if you guys even know where the property is, so.
Yep.
That was, I just Well,
Okay.
the only reason I pulled it.
Sure. Okay. Anybody have any questions then on that?
Really?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Bob.
yes, this is a draft developers agreement. There, as the city administrator mentioned, there are blanks in the amount of the letter of credit amount. We're still waiting on information from the developer to provide that to Shane, so Shane could provide that information. Plus, their updated plans, we're waiting on for those so that Shane could review those. So what I would ask is if you are okay with this, that you approve this contingent on attorney review so that I can fill in these blanks that are currently in the developers agreement moving forward here.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Okay. With that, if nobody has any questions, we've got two resolutions in front of us on this one. 2023-25, approving the preliminary and final plat. I would take a motion to approve
With the attorney,
with the attorney
Yep.
contingent
I'll
upon
make that.
attorney review.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. So motion and a second to approve resolution 2023-25, approving a preliminary plat and final plat for development known as the Skuzachek second edition. Contingent upon attorney review. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, we've got resolution 2023-26. I would take a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
And again, that would be contingent on attorney review.
All right, I'll take Abe for the second. So a motion and a second for resolution 2023-26, approving a developers agreement for the development known as the Skuzachek second edition, contingent upon attorney review. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. That's all the items in general business tonight. Is there any staff or council member reports tonight?
The only one is, all the ditches are cut, so last cutting of the year, so that's done.
Perfect. Did it grow without any rain?
Well,
Good. All right. Nobody has anything else? I take a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Abe.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?